Wex On, Wex Off starts right now with Jason Wexler.
Welcome in. It's another exciting edition of Wex On, Wex Off. He wanted to waste no time going out to the phones, but he made a house call. Joining us now from my/his couch, Sam Kuperman. Sam, how you doing?
Well, it was technically your couch to begin with, and we're grateful that you brought it here to.
I'm grateful the movers brought it here.
Correct. Yeah, we got that dealt with, thankfully. It would have been an awful day to move a couch. But point being, it's truly an honor and privilege to be on Wex On, Wex Off, and I believe the second ever in-person guest.
Yeah, behind Pat Taylor.
Right, yeah, obviously, and that's fine.
Pat's a big talent. I'm happy that, if I could only have two guys in person next to me, it would be neither one of you, but you guys were available, and thanks for making the time.
You got big name guests on the show. Obviously, they're going to be probably preferable for an in-person seating. I don't know. I would assume. I mean, I'd want to hang with the Eagles over myself, but hey, I'm happy to be here.
Coop, thank you so much. We're going to start you right away with the hard-hitting question. Dwight Howard says he could beat Nikola Jokic in his prime. He said it about 4 months ago, but you and I have continued to talk about it daily here, and I need your thoughts.
This is really the only request I had for you coming into the show. I said, I'm an open book. You ask me what you want, I'll answer. I need to get to talk about this. Jokic is a more well-rounded player, and at this point now that he's got the title, he's got the MVPs, probably looking at like an all-time better resume. However, I don't think it's a crazy thing that Dwight said. You have to look at how dominant he was. I'm not going to give you an answer if you see this coming. I don't have it.
You're talking around it.
No. But here's what I'm saying. I don't think it's an open and shut, man, Dwight's crazy. No, I think it's a fair thing that Dwight brought up because he was so dominant in his time for a significant stretch. You're talking about the better half of a decade where Dwight was the clear-cut best center in the NBA and an absolute nightmare for opposing teams to go against. I mean, think about how many teams tried and failed to trade for him. The Nets, the Lakers got him, then didn't have him.
Then they got him back again.
Yeah, then eventually he comes back, he wins the title. But you look at everything, and Dwight was a terrific player for a long time, and injuries have unfortunately robbed him of a better second half of the career. However, he was a key reserve on an NBA championship team, so you can't take that away from him too. I think it is a closer debate than most people are saying, but if you're asking me who's the best resume, it has to be Jokic, capped off by that last title.
And the thing is, injuries or not, Dwight Howard's offensive game really never developed. He could catch a lob, but it's not like he developed much of a hook shot or anything like that.
I think it was better than people make it out to be. He wasn't doing all the things Jokic can do on the court, but it was also a different time. If Dwight came up now, coaches would be having him do some of those things that a lot of the bigs today are almost required to do. It's just Dwight's profile. He also came in out of high school. So he comes into the NBA, a different league, and he's being asked to do different things. Like he's playing next to another big, although by the time they were under Stan Van Gundy as a title team in the finals, he was playing next to the quote-unquote stretch four, having Rashard Lewis there, playing a bit more small ball than a lot of teams at that time would do. But coming up, that wasn't the case. Dwight was playing next to other bigs, and the role was different. So I think that falls in there as well.
Talk about that Stan Van Gundy Magic tenure, and really, who could forget that? One of the things that my dad loves the most in terms of just, reactions to big shots, when LeBron hit that turnaround shot, and I believe it was Game 3 of the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Magic, who would go on to lose to the Lakers, and Stan Van Gundy just gives a little shrug, like, what are you going to do about LeBron hitting a shot with 1 second left?
Stan Van Gundy's relatability is second to none, and it's phenomenal. Like you see the different clips of him, like him being the Pistons coach and saying to build a wall, like when there's like 1 second left and they just have to, you just screaming at oh my God, he's phenomenal, and he's terrific on air too, and that's the thing. Stan's been great having him in the booth. And, I saw recently they had a passing in their family with his wife passing away. So I do want to send my belated condolences to the family there for that.
Yeah, Stan, they always talk to us, and people ask us about this with the big time people we've talked to, are the same on the air and off the air. And I definitely get that impression from Stan, a guy that doesn't need to take himself too seriously, and that's why I think he's the perfect pairing with Ian.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. It's the relatability, and that's for me as a broadcaster, like how I try to approach it, because you can't see me now in this medium, but if you looked at me, you wouldn't take me as somebody that could play basketball, play insert whatever sport I'm calling here. Um, but for me, I just like the fan perspective, and I want to give the fans that perspective, and I think that's one of the things that makes Ian so great. And from Stan's point of view, he's been in coaching his whole life. His brother a coach, his dad a coach. Like that's how they got into it, and he knows that. But he also understands the relatability factor, and that you can get in depth, but there's a certain level to where you get too in depth, and you kind of push away the average fan. He kind of hits that sweet spot, and Ian is one of, if not the best, at teeing up a color commentator. You look at how many different broadcasters Ian has worked with in a lot of different mediums. Like, that is one of the things, and he'll say that when you hear him speak. Ian will, just how important that is, working with a different commentator and getting to know them, and doing your best to bring out the best in them. He takes a lot of pride in that, and I think as a broadcaster, you should want to do that, and it's a phenomenal pairing.
And I think when you think about it like this, I mean, we're not journalists. Arnie Spanier, who I had on the last episode of Wax On Wax Off, will be the first to tell you he's not a journalist. He's an entertainer. He'll be the first to tell you that. And you're listening to a game, you're watching a game, and it doesn't need to be all straight sports every second. You could throw a joke in there. You could throw a pop culture reference in there. You could talk about Taylor Swift for 25 minutes, show her a million times.
Yeah, I think we're starting as a sports culture to get to the point where we're like, okay, well, we're going to do the Taylor thing every week. I think that's coming across, and I say this as somebody that loves Taylor's music, loves her music. I would have really enjoyed going to a show this summer, but social media, to no fault of Taylor's, to no fault of Travis Kelce's. Well, I mean, Kelce did promote it a little bit, but even so, not to his fault.
You were dating Taylor Swift?
Right, exactly. But at some point, like, and I think Jason Kelce actually said this on their last pod. It came across my screen the other day. You got to put a little more emphasis back on the game. It can't be every time. You show her in the beginning, maybe after a touchdown, you quickly pan in, but it can't be with football as much of a celebrity row thing as you do get with basketball, because just basketball, the flow of the game is different. You have a ball going out of bounds, and then you have a little bit of time there. Football, between plays, you could have some time, but part of football is seeing the play develop, and you want to see the personnel that's out there. So you have to be careful with that. And yeah, I don't know where we were going, but as far as the Travis Taylor thing.
What's your favorite Taylor song?
What's my favorite Taylor song? It changes a lot, right? I really do go between a few of them. I'd say favorite albums, no doubt, Red. Red is my favorite album. So I just hate. Now I think I might have pigeonholed myself there. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. I think Sparks Fly is my favorite song, and I do think Red and Speak Now album wise are probably a 1A 1B for me. Same era, same time.
Did you do Taylor's versions of those? I have no idea.
Yeah, she did Taylor's versions of them. Yeah, everything she's done Taylor's version of I have on my phone. The other stuff is no longer on my phone out of respect to the artist. And what's great is people that don't listen to Taylor will say, oh, Taylor's version, she's just re-recording her stuff. She's not doing anything new. Well, she's re-recording her stuff because it's hers, and she's putting out stuff that was not released before. And the stuff she's putting out that was not released before is really, really good. So it's awesome. I love it. So yeah, I listen to everything she puts out.
Should we go back to sports?
Yes. Thought about it for a second. Let's put it this way. If you asked me to do a whole podcast on Taylor Swift's music, I could do it. I'm versatile. But we don't need to.
I only know like 7 songs. My sister had to text me that Ed Sheeran came out with another album the other day. I didn't even know that.
Do you know the 7 songs that you know from Taylor?
I made up a random number. I know I don't know if it.
How many could you name off the top of your head right
now? Love Story, Trouble.
Yes.
You know, it's hard when you put it on the spot.
I literally just gave you 2.
Sparks Will Fly. I've never heard that one.
Play it for you later. It's great.
Love Story. I might have said that.
Love Story. It's okay. So we got about 3. That's fine. It's okay. Call that the big 3, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yes. There's LeBron, Wade, Bosch. There's Love Story, Sparks Fly, and Trouble.
And there's Spencer Dinwiddie, Cam Johnson, and Nick Claxton.
You're just throwing all you're dismissing a lot of Nets there in the process. I love those guys, but
I had to think about who I would put there.
You didn't say Mikal Bridges.
You're right.
Fair. Listen. I get where you're going. I'm excited for the Nets season. I'm happy to jump in and say that. Like just watching all the posts on Insta from the Nets social team, it's exciting. And look, it's weird because 2019 offseason happens. You get the clean sweep, as it was called, with Durant, Kyrie, and DeAndre Jordan. And it was something that we had never felt before as fans. I mean, we had the 01-02, and that was both of our formative years growing up. We really didn't know how to conceptualize Jason Kidd being on the team after years of the Nets kind of having some good players, but never really putting it together throughout the entire 90s.
Forget Keith Van Horn.
Well, yeah, Keith Van Horn, he was great. Listen, if we want to start talking about the Lucius Harris and Todd McCulloughs of the world, I got you. I'm there. But fun fact, Brian Scalabrine was on that team. But anyways, with respect to currently, the Durant Kyrie thing, it was exciting. You throw Harden into the mix. That was a wild card, and that 2021 playoffs, we were there. The only time we got to see Harden in person as Nets fans.
48 seconds.
Was it 48? I thought it was like 40.
It might have been 19. I don't know.
It was over 30, but not much over 30. We were in the stands sitting next to each other. You, me, and my friend Brian. And we're sitting there, and it just the hamstring pops or whatever, and we're just like, oh, it won't be.
He was sitting in the right. You were sitting in the middle. I was to the left. I look over at you, and I said, why are they calling timeout?
Yep. We couldn't tell. I mean, we weren't.
And he goes hard and ginger, and I said, no. And then I looked over.
Yeah, I didn't believe it. I thought it was Brian being a pessimist, but Brian was right.
It was me, Coop, because I was at MetLife Stadium week 1 this year.
It might be you. We might have to bar you from attending future sporting events unless you're broadcasting them. I think that's fair.
I do want to talk about Aaron Rodgers for a second because I'm not a Jets fan. We're both hardcore Giants fans, but the amount of despair that you can hear in my voice that like still bothers me. How that could happen. There was so much hype going into it. The Jets were finally gonna be this playoff team again. You know, for the first time since they were in back-to-back AFC Championship games, and he got Randall Cobb, and he got Alan Lazard, and then you're going to tell me on the first time he gets hit, he tears his Achilles. Like you can't write that.
Well, it kind of, and I'm not saying this is a good thing, but I'm saying it in terms of how this topic relates to the one we were finishing up there before. The Jets are at that point when there was the build-up and they were making those good small moves with Joe Douglas, kind of like how the Nets with Sean Marks, and we were seeing it come together. There might be something here, fan base that hasn't won a lot, some overlap between Nets and Jets fans. And then you have the Kyrie Durant thing, and you have the big hype, and then it starts to sour. Things happen, different freaky occurrences happen. I hope this doesn't happen for Jets fans' perspective because they still have a really good team. They just need to figure out the quarterback, and Zach Wilson did show some good things there on Sunday night against Kansas City. So there's some promise there, and look, Zach was very highly touted coming into the league. It hasn't panned out the way they'd like it to, but still good. He's still young. But it's just as far as, like, to bring that comparison full circle, it's just that excitement, a fan base that isn't used to getting that kind of star power in that way, to get all-time greats in your building, working with your young guys, and then something freaky happens, and you say, of course, it's us. Nothing good can ever happen to us. And I just hope for Jets fans' perspective that they're able to have a good season this year, and hopefully Aaron is back fully healthy next year, and they can try and manifest this thing because it looked really good coming out of training camp, and it's unfortunate that he got 4 snaps and then the season's over.
I think the first play was a handoff to Brees. And then I think they switched it up. Cook got a handoff, and then I think that was it. I think it was the
You were
third.
broadcasting it from the stands? Did you do? Because you fall into the habit. You do play-by-play, like when we're playing Madden. Do you?
But that's not me falling into the habit. That's me practicing.
So I'm saying, okay, let me rephrase.
Do I do it at games?
Yes, that's the question.
There were a couple of adult beverages consumed, and it wasn't the time.
Well, my thing is you had 4 snaps to do it. Did you do on those snaps?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
You know what bothered me?
What?
And I get that these people have a job to do too, the in-house entertainment people, when they call timeout or whatever. It's third down and they're going, nuts. It's great to be at the Jets game. They should have cut that out. The real fans, they were dead inside. My roommate, Matt, couldn't believe it.
Okay, but then they got hyped when the Jets won that night. It was temporary high, but it was a high all the same.
Yeah, it was great to see the punt returned for a touchdown win, and it didn't hurt me as much as when Kevin Dodge couldn't kick the ball out of bounds.
Man, yeah, that was one of those moments as a Giants fan growing up where, and I still support the Giants. I'm not as hardcore as I was growing up where I watched every game. Now it's more due to my career field.
Doing your own game.
I physically can't watch every game. I like to listen to football games on a Sunday whenever I'm driving back from a broadcast. And I want to shout out the guys on the NFL Sunday Drive, Steve Torrey and Bill Leckis. I love that on Sirius XM. So I do that, and then if I'm local, I'll throw on the Giants or the Jets too. But yeah,
Bob and Bob do a great job.
Yes, Bob and Bob.
I just thought of that. It's like Office Space.
I like Office Space. Good movie.
We're going to interrupt you completely. We're going to get you out of here on this. Josh Boone or Jason Collins?
Jason Collins contributed to winning. Josh Boone did not. That's an easy no-brainer. Both limited offensive games. I don't know how good Jason Collins was at shooting free throws.
Not good. I don't think he airballed 2 in a row, if that's what you're going to say.
I was about to say, I promise you, he could not have been as bad at Josh Boone at shooting free throws. But apparently, Josh Boone is better at shooting free throws than I am at speaking. Is what I've determined over the last minute because I've misspoke 4 or 5 times.
If you're a hard guy to reach next time I want you on the podcast, I might yell down the hallway. I might walk the 8 steps to your room. He's Sam Kuperman, freelance play-by-play broadcaster for hire. He doesn't hate your team.
Do not.
Thanks so much.
Of course, my pleasure.